was a very, very special show that came out this year. And the internet really took it and really hyped up just how special this show is. And they said, all of them said, when you get to the twist at the first episode, you're going to be locked in. And they did not lie. I jumped on this show when 6 episodes were available to watch. I told my wife, this is what the internet is saying. Let's just check out the first episode, see where it goes. We finished all 6 that day. And was checking to see when the next episode comes out. We finished all 6.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say this, and Greg, I'm going to turn it over to you because I know you've been excited about seeing
this. You don't even know.
Dan Fogelman made This Is Us. It also stars Sterling K. Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Dan Fogelman. Shout out to Sterling K. Brown. And shout out to James Marsden. Their performances, Marsden and Brown, on this show were outstanding. Mm-hmm. And the core and the feeling and the emotion that these two characters lend this story really carries it to heights that lesser actors never would have got this show to. Dan Fogelman gets a shout out, and also with the team of writers for creating a script that gives these great actors something to chew into and elevates them as well, because James Marsden, I knew he was a good actor. In this show, he is a great actor.
Mm-hmm.
A great actor. And Sterling K. Brown, I can't say enough about him.
Goated.
With that being said, Greg, I'm going to turn it over to you. What were your thoughts? And again, you can talk spoilers. What were your thoughts on Paradise?
I'm going to tell you right now. I have to pat. I got to pat you on the back. Because when you suggested this, I kid you not, I did not believe that this show was going to be as good as it is. I am a very big skeptic when it comes to TV shows I watch. When I tell you the first episode coming into this, I was like, nah, this will be all right. I was drawn off the first 30 minutes. This show in itself is great. I captured a lot from it. You see what happens when you have a billionaire team with a president. Billionaire team with a president. Might say it again. Billionaire teams with a president and tries to play Noah's Ark, build their own ark.
I got one for you. Hold on.
Yeah.
A trust fund kid who is also a billionaire and the president.
Wow, ain't it? So you see what happens when a billionaire has all this money and decides there's a catastrophe on the way. I want to build my own city. I'm going to run my city and basically be ahead of the president. It was so many turns that woman had. Like, when I say she is a chess master, like, she had everything plotted and planned. Like, from day one to the end, she had everything planned. I literally, man, when it came to, there was a scene. Oh man, I wish I could remember the episode. But it was when the shit hit the fan. It was after he put in the sky, they're lying to you. And oh man, I forget his name. I can't think it's Sterling, but I can't think of his name, his character. But he comes up to the therapist after he finds out the therapist has betrayed
Xavier.
Xavier, that's Xavier.
Yeah.
He comes to the therapist, and this is after he finds out that she betrayed him, and it's nighttime. Basically, they shut it down. He's talking to her, and in that moment, as he was talking to her, she's telling him of her plans and everything, and the lights come on. And I was like, what's done in the dark will come to light. And that's when the shit hit the fan.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, they have plenty of moments like that where everything just hits at the right time. And it's so many things that happen over the course of this show. Almost makes me wish we broke it down the same way we did in this one, just episode by episode. We just talk about
Right.
it. But we're coming at the end talking about it. So we're gonna have to do the best we can with what we have. One of the main things is when you get to that initial twist of them just being inside of this city that's under a mountain. That twist is executed so well, and you find out a lot about the characters within that first episode. What I appreciate about James Marsden's character, and I can't remember the president's oh my god, Cal. What I liked about Cal might be a bit of a jerk. He's definitely a showman. And what's funny is, to me, he was a bit of a racist in some ways, but it was more so that he was just stereotypical. He really did love Xavier. And those hints that he drops in those flashbacks leading up to everything that happened, where he's like, he asked him, he said, you plan on having any more kids? Xavier said, no, we good with our two. And he says, good. Xavier looks at him like, well, sir, is everything all right? And he responds, and Cal responds, no, he says, you're good, you're off for the night. You can go ahead and go home. Stuff like that. So, and that the way they slowly built that mystery up, they give you a piece here in the past, a piece there. All right, let's get you to understand. By the way, Cal dies in the first episode.
Straight off top.
So now the show becomes a whodunit. Every suspect got an origin story. Right. Every one of them. Chris, help me out. What was his Xavier's best friend name?
Billy. Uncle Billy.
Uncle Billy.
I went from hating Billy.
Hey, facts.
Come on now, somebody.
Hey, talk to him.
Billy's origin story is heartbreaking.
It is, man.
His dad told him to put his dog down. Billy takes the gun, shoots his dad, does his bid in jail, gets into the black ops, and he's so damn good at it that Sinatra, who is the woman on the right of your screen here, Sinatra decides, hey man, maybe this boy need to be a part of the new Secret Service. Like, that's how exceptional he was at killing.
Facts.
And the twist that you even get with Billy, that the outside world isn't completely decimated, and he was instructed to kill the four
I think it was
explorers, the four scientists that they sent out to confirm everything on the outside. And he did his duty and killed them. And he lived with that secret, man. He lived with that secret. And when Sinatra had an issue with him, threatened and eventually had his girlfriend kill him. And that brings me to Sinatra. That is a diabolical villainaire. That lady is so far ahead on everybody. She knew it was survivors. I'm convinced Sinatra knew it was survivors before she sent Billy out there.
Facts.
She knew they told a lie. She knew they sold everybody inside of that bunker a lie. And she sent Billy out there to cover that lie up and to hold that lie. And in the event that she could not control him anymore, she sent a woman to get that man to want to share his life, and that woman killed him. That's some diabolical shit right there. Chris.
In the coldest way.
In the coldest way. Chris, let me know what your thoughts were, man. I know me and Greg, we got started, but let me know how you felt about this show and any points that you really want to bring up in your characters.
Well, you already took a stab at Billy, man. I was in the same boat, bro. I hated that motherfucker, man. But once we actually got to see where he was and where he came from, he was like, he's in a way searching for that love that he never had. He doesn't know anything beside kill, kill, kill. So that was the
Right.
coldest part about his girl betraying him and whatever. But man, I ain't gonna lie, I was never really a big fan of shows that do like flashbacks this much because
They're
I'm
hard
like,
to get into. Yeah.
you losing me, bro. Like, just keep the main thing. But like you said, everything had a timing and a place where it just fit in so effortless. And yeah, like y'all said, Sinatra is the greatest puppet master I've ever seen from this side of the spectrum. But I kind of got another feeling about it watching her orchestrate everything, and like
Mhm.
Greg said, trying to play God the way she was. I am 100% convinced that even though it wasn't her fault, she feels failure as a mother for losing her son. And that
Absolutely.
and that is why she tries to control these pieces
Right.
the
Yep.
way she would have tried to raise her son, almost leading you into the direction. And now this whole bunker in this cave has become her child
Mhm.
in a way.
Beautifully
So
stated, my friend. Beautifully stated.
that's
To
what I
go
got from it,
along,
man.
with that point, Sinatra needed something to
Yes.
fill that void that
Mhm.
was left by quote unquote failing her son.
Right.
She was just a wanderer on earth, and honestly, I believe she may have done something to herself had it not been for the other child. I truly
Oh,
do. And the
facts.
therapist and her therapist.
Facts. Facts.
I
100%.
really believe that. But when she met that professor, and it's funny, only her and Cal were in that room
Mhm.
listening to him, and maybe one other person. That man sold what he said so well that honestly, she just was gonna latch on to that. I think she was just willing to. She got fuck you money, and she was just willing to just
Right.
spend it on something that on a cause that was greater than her pain.
Because he couldn't bring her son back.
But he made so much right. He made so much sense, and she was like,
Mhm.
"All right, yeah, let's just see how it goes." And then he kept escalating, and all of his numbers started checking out, and just
Right.
kept growing, and the issue just kept getting bigger and bigger. The reveal that she and Cal's father conspired to get him in the White House so they could further handle the building of their bunker. The
Mhm.
orchestration of this entire situation is impressive. It's impressively written, and within the meta of the show, it's impressively executed.
Mhm.
That conspiracy is so damn deep. It makes you feel like, oh, this got to be some real shit that's going on. I just don't know about the way they laid it out there. I like the scene where
Facts.
she brought some of the greatest architects together
Mhm.
and scientists, and was like, hey, what would it take to build a
Right.
new city under a mountain and infrastructure? And the man tells her, and she flies him out there. And he was like, it was impossible. Then he sees all the real estate, and he was like, and she said, go ahead and get started.
Facts.
Boy, that shit sent chills down my spine. But she's so callous and so cold, man.
Mhm.
It just make you, and when you see how she was when her son was alive against
Right.
the end, and then they bring it all home, and her son used to love the horses outside of grocery stores, and now they're at every store. Beautifully developed characters is what Fogelman does.
Right.
This show was so good, I turned This Is Us back on. He does this shit too. It's just more drama than thriller, but he does this shit too. So that brings us, we talked about Cal, we talked about Sinatra. Let's go back to Xavier and his storyline.
Mhm.
Badass Secret Service agent. And I really do love this character. I love this character. I love his kids. And his
Mhm.
wife was a badass, was a
Facts.
real badass. when they delivered the news about the state of the world and he really couldn't tell his wife and everything, in that moment, it's inaudible what the what's the head commander of the military? I can't remember what their official title is called. But when he's delivering the news to him, and again, you can't hear what he's saying, you see the weight on Sterling K. Brown's face. It's excellent acting. I always say, look, man, if you ever learn some top secret shit on this scale, tell me. I swear I ain't gonna tell nobody, but tell me. But my wife was saying it in a way of, you shouldn't be carrying that weight on you all the time.
Right.
This man knows what's coming. He has a wife and kids. And he held that secret, and he held it together until his best friend, Cal, died. And although he had resentment for him, and you find out his final words towards him. Oh, well, no, yeah, he tells her, no, I think in the first episode, we do find out his final words.
Yeah.
He was like, I hate you.
Right.
Essentially. And I won't have peace. I won't be able to sleep again until he dies. And then the next episode after he's dead, Cal sleep. Xavier sleeps late, which I thought that was a nice touch. But I thought that character was just so great and had so much depth. And I like his relationship with his wife. And we're getting to the episode that was probably the most talked about episode out of all of these. But I would like your thoughts, Greg, on how you felt about Xavier as a character and how his story was handled as well.
I love the way they showed him as a family man first. Like, he cared more about his family than he did his job, but he did his job so well that you really couldn't distinguish like what was his true love, but he basically put his family first. I love that about him. And it's a great balance he had, because he had his kids, then he had his dad involved, and then you get the backstory on that, and then he has a job, his career. So his whole aura, like, completely provider, father, protector, hands down, they covered it with ease, man. And I love that about how they displayed that with him, man. He phenomenal character, bro. Like, hands down, phenomenal character.
Chris.
Same, man. You know, like Greg said, just being that protector, I feel like that just went hand in hand with being a Secret Service agent. But he, like you said, he just was able to separate family from work. It all just kind of meshed together for him. And I think one of my favorite scenes from this whole season was the realization that his wife wasn't going to make it when him and Cal got into that argument outside. That shit was powerful, bro.
So, yeah. So that's about to lead us to the day.
Yeah.
We can't do this entire show proper justice, but we can on those last two episodes.
Man.
The day, and I'm going to say this plainly, the day, which is episode 7, is one of the best television episodes I've seen really ever. Like, it holds up against a lot of great episodes, some from Game of Thrones. Even what we just talked about, Invincible, the last episode of that, and I don't really think I harbored on how great that last episode where he fights Conquest is, and some others. The Day is such a good episode because you've been teased or there have been breadcrumbs given to you about the big day, right? Where everything went to shit. And the show takes you through that in real time. They really don't touch on any of the future storylines as much. The story starts off, Xavier has Sinatra at gunpoint, and she tells him the truth about everything. Or tells him what he doesn't know. And it's a regular day, right? Just like some of the crazy shit we've seen in on the news. And I'll always go back to, I believe, what is the most traumatic thing I've seen as a child was 9/11. 9/11 was a regular day. Went to school. Greg, you and I actually went to the same school at this time. And I remember a kid just comes in and he was like, "Man, y'all ain't heard about that stuff where the planes is flying around the buildings." And he was, he was a kid that's mischievous. Nobody paid much attention to him. Went to my next class and the teacher had it on TV. She's
On
weeping.
TV. Yep.
Yeah, and I want to say Greg and we may have been in that same class together.
It was in I saw it in Miss Derrick class. She had it on that old school TV.
Okay, so you were in Miss Derrick class. It's this lady, Caucasian lady, can't remember her name. That's the class I saw it. And as it went on and we kept finding out more information, like everything just changed. So Xavier and his wife have to go to school because their daughter basically checked the bully or whatever. And I thought that was funny. And you see his wife, and his wife is getting ready to go to Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
And what's funny is in a prior episode, Cal told Xavier, "Hey man, maybe your wife shouldn't go to Atlanta."
Time to put your foot down.
And Xavier, caught between his duty of his job and his duty to his family, thought everything was going to be okay. And that his wife is going to be able to make it back. Instead of just saying, "Nah, baby, you can't go." Mm-hmm. That's the only place where I fought Xavier in this whole entire series. Was
facts.
But it lends itself to the guilt that he feels throughout the rest of the series.
Mm-hmm.
And as things just escalate and this big ass tsunami comes, the scene that let me know how serious it was the reporter on the rooftop.
Yep, on the rooftop. Man, that was
great scene. He tells him, "Hey man, we on top of this skyscraper, we straight." And that damn shockwave came through. And her ears are bleeding. And then you look up and the wave is on her. That shit was chilling. That was a chilling moment in that episode. And things just keep getting worse, man. You find out, and of course with tsunamis, they come in waves. That first one typically ain't even the best shot. Facts. So they're now counting down how much time they have, and they're telling you how many hours are going by. And Xavier looks at Cal and he was like, "Look, what does my wife have to do?" And Cal tells him, "Look, ask the general or whatever, and he'll give you the location." And then she's supposed to make it there. And look, God, Chris, I know you can speak to this point, and maybe you too, Greg. The location that she had to get through in Marietta, the air base. You wanted that lady in a catastrophe on a regular day in Atlanta. That tidal wave just gonna hit her ass. That's it.
That was it.
Over with.
But during the catastrophe, she had to figure out how to get to a whole fucking air base. I love the tension of him having to constantly check his phone. I love the tension when the other staff workers who were not going to the bunker realized what was going on. And when Cal finally was honest, that moment Cal saw that janitor still working, it was just
that was a tearjerker.
Greg, you can go ahead and take it from there, man. Just really take us through that scene.
I'm gonna be honest with you. When that man sat there and he was talking to her, he's like, "Hey, he cleaning it." I know they brought us attention because the president looked over at him. He's like, "Why is this man still cleaning?" When he finally talked to him, he was like, "Oh man, everything will be all right. I'd have been through Katrina pandemics. I'd have been
9/11.
Yeah, 9/11. I'd have been through all it. Tomorrow coming be okay." And you can just see Cal like, there are some people out here that think tomorrow is gonna be here and they'll never get a chance to say goodbye.
Right.
And I think instantly, I don't think he was in character. I think that really hit him. I think as an actor, that really hit him when he thought about what he was saying. These people are not going to get a chance to say goodbye. And the general was like, go on, do your thing. We'll be all right. And when he finally said, "You know what? We're not airing that trash you're trying to put out. I want to go live and tell these people the truth so they get a chance to say goodbye." And you saw that janitor like, I guess
I'm going. No, if I'm not mistaken, we see the janitor briefly, and Cal gives him a look. But then later on, you see where he left his cart behind. Like he did go
he got out
to be with his family or whatever. And man, it was just like the way everything played out. And when that part happens and Xavier got his team ready, he told them, "Go ahead and take our guns out."
Yeah.
Because once he says this, and they're going to watch this real time, he was live on television. Once he says this, we probably gonna have to fight our way out. And that tension came back. Xavier trying to check his phone for his wife, but also trying to guard the president. Family versus duty, yet again. And he dropped his phone. Somebody else put a cap in somebody. He did go back and get his phone up, but he left. And it gets us to the scene that you mentioned, Chris. The scene before getting on Air Force One. And Xavier's like, she was never gonna make it on the plane. And Cal looked at him, and it goes into Cal. At first, Cal was all about giving hope to the people. But when he got to the moment where he just wanted to be honest, he was finally honest with Xavier, and he told him, look, man, we in the shit now. You can't hop in the car and go get her. I need you to be the Secret Service agent that you have always been. That was Cal protecting his friend to me.
Right.
And even though Cal didn't give him the real in the first place, he was protecting his friend, and he was like, look, yeah, I probably could have told you this days ago because this pretty much checks out to what we were getting ready to do. But it's not about that. You got kids on that plane that you need to live for. I need you to be my Secret Service agent. Very powerful scene. Very powerful. Yeah. We get on the plane, and Xavier, well, before Xavier has his last call, they're telling Cal that the other superpowers and nuclear powers see the United States is weak, and they're gonna wipe them out. And they're telling Cal to launch, to use the launch codes and everything. And I like how they had the football in your line of sight for most of the episode, the nuclear football. And he gets there and he says, he was like, man, they told me all the secrets. Well, here's the biggest one. An EMP that can stop a nuclear warhead. Cal, this is the best plot twist in this show. Cal is the reason there's a planet left. God damn it. God damn it. He the reason there's a planet left. Everything that you had an issue with, he hadn't fully redeemed himself, but he got a lot of points back to me. He saved the planet. And nobody's ever going to really know that. Why? Because it flies in the face of what Sinatra wants you to think. She wants you to think the planet is gone. She wants you to think that the environment is shit and it's radioactive. If you know that Cal stopped all those warheads, it flies in the face of it.
Yep.
And then, of course, we get the conversation between Xavier and his wife. And he thinks his wife has died. Sinatra reveals that his wife is alive, which is another great closing to this episode. We're going to move on to the finale. Greg, I just want your thoughts on how we finish this thing off. And feel free to even talk about who the killer is, which is a great plot twist.
Man, that was a huge plot twist, bro. Because I thought for a fact they had found out who it was. And I mean, they had, like you said,
you thought it was Sinatra, right?
I know. I literally thought when the therapist and the agent were in the kitchen and she was going through the list of people that didn't something, when they found out that Cal was killed for somebody that was outside of the, I guess you could say, the internment camp, whatever. I figured they were going to find somebody that just didn't seem right. And I always looked at that cafe server. Like something about her just didn't seem right. And when she was looking at the list of people and she saw the name, she was like, this name is something's not right. This doesn't make sense. And she noticed it off of the allergies the woman said.
After the allergies, yeah.
But she noticed that she was eating the cashew cheese, the vegan cheese on the fries. So when they pressed her about it, that's when Xavier goes and he finds like the secret bunker with the code that was on the cigarette, and he finds all the stuff.
It all starts coming together.
It starts coming together. And so she goes, just know it's not my fault. He told me to do it. And my mom was like, oh man, who is it? Bro, I bet it's one of these, I bet it was Billy, da 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 da. And Xavier opens the book. He gets hit in the head by the librarian. And bro, when I tell you my jaw dropped, because I did not expect that man. He had me shook.
Out of
Everybody. And then we get his
I didn't see him.
backstory.
His backstory. They wrapped that shit up so good.
Man,
Let me tell you something, man, that I'm gonna give them props on. They was showing me that motherfucker the entire show. I never noticed it. Never noticed it.
Never thought about it.
And they gave him a boring ass job so you wouldn't notice it. I didn't know he was 6'5". If I had known he was 6'5", I said that should kill him right there. What do we got a 6'5" librarian for?
But he was so
Reach
good
the
at
top shelf.
Right.
He was so good at being timid that led you against anything negative against him, because it just seemed like he was there. Hey, Mr. President, no, whatever you need, we'll get for you. He just seemed like he was in place, but it never dawned on me. I get they making a city, but why would you think to bring a librarian? You know what I'm saying? Like,
okay,
that
so
never made sense to me.
So a lot of it was to give people something to do. I did notice that. Like, everybody had their little jobs and stuff, and he gave people something to do. What I like about his background story, Chris, I kick it to you with this, is that, first of all, you saw him the first time when he was at the press conference or whatever, and he tried to pull the gun. Because he knew what was going on also. He knew that the world was about to go to shit, and Cal knew it. He tried to kill him, hit Xavier. And he was so inconspicuous that Xavier, who notices everything, did not know that was the same man who shot him.
Right.
That was a point that was lost on me at first. Like, Xavier had moved on with his life. And he was so far removed, and he was paying attention to so much other shit that he didn't notice the man who shot him was working in the library. And it made sense. The man did change his appearance. Give him that. But even that made sense. But to the juxtaposition of that point is that the librarian was in that new civilization for so long. That what Cal did had gone outside of his mind, and he honestly forgot his mission. He didn't care anymore. He was like, society has essentially rebuilt itself, and we've moved on. So maybe I should move on. And he just fell into basically assimilating to what his new life was. And then he got up one day and he was like, this is unsustainable. I need to finish the job I intended to do in the first place. Chris, how did you feel about where the story took us from there?
Man, I was along for the ride at that point, man. I had my seatbelt on, I had the little Superman roller coaster, arm straps going down, man. I'm in that thing like this, bro.
That was
and it was, yeah, I'm locked in, bro. Like, and like you said, he had got so removed from his original mission that, like you said, he pretty much became a cog in the machine. And then, like you said, everything just kind of was going out the window until Cal went to make that mixtape for his son,
and he saw
him in person, and that's what re-triggered. Yeah, it re-triggered everything that these last couple months he'd been erased from his mind. So once that happened, man, it was like it's up. But like you said, we really didn't even pay attention to that. Like you said, he cut his hair. His beard was different, all that good jazz. But that speaks to the trauma that he experienced, right?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
That man turned into a homicidal killer again. And he said he knew he was gonna get caught, and the days went by that he wasn't caught. And he just stood down and he was like, all right, let me just enjoy life. And he saw Cal at like State of the Union addresses and all that kind of stuff, but it was seeing him, Cal's desire to make a fail safe for if Sinatra killed him is what got him killed. and it wasn't
Facts.
Sinatra that did it. And I thought that I appreciated the great irony.
Mhm.
And the villain, and I turned to my wife and I said this. I said, he's getting ready to go out and find other people. And if you let him leave, he's gonna bring people back. And he
Right.
becomes a greater threat. Xavier didn't go after him to kill him. He ended up killing himself. Or whatever.
Kamikaze.
But I thought that was such a great story. And then we didn't dive into this, but Xavier's all-out assault on Sinatra and Paradise as a whole by exposing everything was very well done also. And he only took his foot off the gas when she told him that his wife was alive.
Right.
So Xavier comes back and everything is trying to return somewhat to normalcy, but now Cal's son appears to be in position to be a cult leader of sorts or a revolutionist, which I think that's going to be a very interesting storyline. And thank God that this has already been confirmed for season 2. So you don't have to worry about it being canceled, and we're going to get a lot of answers. But we end up with Xavier hopping in a plane to go and get his wife. And they even did a good job of setting up the fact that he wanted to be a pilot, but his eyesight just wasn't.
Right.
So it makes sense that he would be in a position to go and get his wife in Atlanta or wherever. Well, he's assuming that she's in Atlanta, and I believe she does say it. She says she does. She is going to be making her way to Colorado, but for the time being, on the last mission, she was still
right.
The other part is Sinatra can't speak now because her hitter, who was Billy's old lady, decided, you know what? This lady asked for a Nintendo Wii.
A Wii, bro. A Wii. She asked you for a Nintendo Wii, and you said, when she told that woman, she said, I think we should end the conversation now. I was like, oh, yeah, she done.
Sinatra was still on that control shit because Sinatra was coming from a position of, if I give her the Wii, there's no telling where it's going to stop.
Yeah.
I also feel like that woman was saying, she won't give me a Wii. I know everything that I have all this information on her. I'm next.
Right.
You just beat her to it.
Yep.
David had that damn gun to Sinatra's head. That girl shot her in the throat.
And then played it.
And then went up to her. She said, nah, where I shot you at? What kind of marksman you gotta be to shoot a nigga and take their vocal cords away?
That's some gangster shit, man.
She said, you're not gonna die. You're just not gonna be able to speak. Like, and now I'm in control. That is a scary thought that Xavier is not there. And that woman essentially got Sinatra by the balls. Sinatra can't talk, but she can. That shit crazy. And it sets up for a great season 2.
Facts.
I think we're ready to render our verdict here. Paradise for me was a nonstop thrill ride. I enjoyed every second of this show. I'm actually intending to binge it again probably soon. For me, it's a 5 out of 5. It's an unapologetically superb television show, man. It's not much that you could really ask for that they don't give you. Chris, what are your thoughts? What is your verdict for it?
Man, like I said, it took me a little bit longer than y'all. You know, I mean, the twist was cold, but like I said, it was just the flashbacks that was messing me up. But once we got into the meat and potatoes of it all, yeah, I mean, I don't really like binge watching multiple episodes of a show in one day because there are some times where like you got so much going on, you may lose track of what happened sometimes. But when I watched episodes 3 through 8, I was cool, right? So
you remember all this shit.
Yeah. So I gotta go unapologetic superb as well, man. I mean, it was phenomenal. I can't wait to spin the block again, like you said, and then in preparation for season 2, man.
And now you get the convenience of really knowing it. You know what this reminds me of? X-Men 97. where Bastion, honestly, Bastion is present the entire time up until they reveal. And you go back and watch the show and you can see him and you was like, wait a goddamn minute. He was there the whole time. Greg, what were your thoughts on it?
Let me put it like this before I get my rating. If there was any show that would make me get the premium subscription of a streaming service so I can skip the commercials, this did it. If you watch this, please make sure you have a subscription without commercials because you're not going to want to take them pauses. But this was a 5, top-notch 5. Like, literally, I'm about to change my subscription now so I can skip the freaking commercials when season 2 come out. I didn't want to start watching this.
Look, man, it feel good not having to worry about them dumbass commercials.
Right. And this made me realize that this.
Look, man, I think this is the first 5 out of 5 we've given anything since we've been doing this show. So yeah, man, Paradise is absolutely legitimate.
U-GeekTV.